government is limited.
If you love freedom,
as government expands, liberty contracts.
If you believe in personal responsibility, if you believe America is still the greatest nation on earth, then get ready for an experience you'll never forget. This is Upfront and Outspoken. Here's your host, Bob Williams.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
And once again, welcome back to Upfront Outspoken. Of course, I'm your host, Bob Williams. Joining me via Skype is the only candidate who has thrown in his hat to run against current Savannah Mayor Edna Jackson. I'm talking about Murray Silver. Welcome back to the show, Murray.
Nice to be here, pal.
You know, when you were with us 2 weeks ago, you left a couple of very wide open questions. And I kind of want to get into that. But first, I want you to tell the people why now. Why are you now going up against the current mayor?
Well, I have reached a point in my life where I have done everything that I came here to do for me and my own. I have written my book. I have made my movie. I've made my money. I've had my fun. I'm at a point in my life where it's not about me anymore. I made up my mind a couple of years ago that I would dedicate the rest of the time I have remaining to service. So my decision to run really didn't have anything to do with whoever else was going to run. I don't live my life according to someone else's timetable, but it's time for me to serve. And because I'm running out of time, I'm seeking the highest level that I can attain to make the most of the time that I have left.
You know, there are your critics out there that are already saying that the only reason you're running is to add another chapter to your book. You do know this, correct?
Well, I've heard people say that they think that all I am doing is running in order to find material for another book. Yeah, I've heard that, but let's be honest, Bob. Who of us is not doing the same thing? Who is among us is not adding another chapter to their lives? I mean, that's what all of us do. Whether we write about it is inconsequential. The point is that I am a writer, and I write about the experience of my lifetime. I'm not suggesting that I'm running for mayor of Savannah, Georgia, just to find material for another book. It would take a crazy person to run for mayor, and I'm just the guy for the job.
I like the way you put it. It takes a crazy person, to run for mayor. I guess in some ways. Well, the thing is, though, what exactly would be some of the things as mayor you would immediately do to clean up Savannah? We all know Savannah has a dark history here. I mean, it's been coming out on my broadcast. It's been slowly coming out in media. Yep. What is some of the things Murray Silver, mayor of Savannah, will do for the people of Savannah?
Well, Bob, yesterday, our former police chief reported to federal prison. We are still in the process of rebuilding our police department. The process is not complete, if only because the current administration will not take the necessary steps to ensure that corruption never happens again at the levels that it has happened in the past 10 years. So the first thing that I do, day one, hour one, minute one, is that I take the control of the Savannah Police Department away from the city manager, who is clearly out of her depth, and I place it in the capable hands of a police commission. Now, to this extent, I have already gone to a former Savannah detective, who is now retired, and I have asked him to draft the white paper that takes you step by step on how a police commission is created. He has built other police departments from the ground up before, and he is the best man in Savannah, Georgia, to take us through this process, if only because not only does he have the experience, but he has the desire to do it. He came to me with the idea. I didn't go out and have to find him. He came to me and said, Murray, there are a number of former police officers in the city who left their job for one reason or another. He said, all of us care enough to come back and help you do this thing. and they understand that a police commission is something that will never be in place under the current administration or if these people return to office. They want to continue to maintain control of a department that they don't know how to run. And so the very first thing that I do is I remove the city manager as overseer of the Savannah Chatham Metropolitan Police Department, and I put a police commission in power. That's the first thing I do. Day one, hour one, moment one, that is ready to roll.
And the other question is we've obtained records, computer records, of a individual that is currently in the mayor's office that has been using computer time to play video games. I mean, I'm talking going to gambling sites. How are you as mayor going to stop people within the administration from using, government computers to do this?
Well, fortunately for me, the techie who is running does all of my work for me, including building my own website. The guy is really one of the fathers of the internet. I mean, this is not Al Gore I'm talking about, but I've got an old and dear family friend who used to be the right hand of Bill Gates. And so he's the first person I go to and turn over all things technical to him and say, look, this is the problem. I need a solution. And you know what I'm going to do, Bob? I'm going to entrust other professionals who are expert in their field to solve Savannah's problems. I'm not the guy to solve all of them. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a team that will replace the losing team that we have presently. But I do happen to know a guy who is one of the great tech wonks of all time when it comes to computers and the internet, and it will be his job to help me police the computers downtown.
And like I said, the thing is we've got the records, courtesy of a private investigator in Savannah. And he gave us these records, and I'm like, this is amazing. You have a public official on the public's dime using the computer to play video games, especially at a gambling site. And I know for fact in many municipalities, they have a means to monitor what goes in and out of these computers. And what I'm hearing you say is that currently there appears to be no such system intact, but as mayor, you would initiate that. Am I correct?
That is correct, Bob. But I have to tell you, in the last 6 years or so, Savannah has seen a number of people hired in city positions. We've now got assistants to supervisors that don't do anything, and even worse, these people received a raise last year, and the people on city council who hired them went back to them and said, "Look, you want to keep your job? Then make sure that we're reelected come this November." And so, I mean, this is what any corrupt administration does. Savannah's not unique, but in Savannah, it's just flagrant. I mean, it's to the point now to where it is embarrassing because no attempt is made to cover these sorts of things up. I mean, the whole town is so utterly corrupt from top to bottom that the FBI says that this is one of the most corrupt cities in the United States for a city its size.
Now,
there are 6 or 7 different investigations that are still ongoing, and they're not done with the police department yet.
Now, the other question I have is you were talking about how large the bureaucracy is there in Savannah. And then once you get into office, your intent is to streamline it and bring it basically under manageable means. Now, tell the listeners what are some of the positions you would delete from the current government?
Well, Bob, the larger problem is this. In just about every other well-run city in America, there's the choice of either having a government job that pays you a fair salary in lieu of getting a larger payout when you retire should you put in 20 years. In Savannah, Georgia, we are one of the very few cities where we pay people top dollar, and if you make it 20 years to retirement, then when you leave, you get an 80% payout. And on current form, this city will go bankrupt. Now, I will also remind you that our current mayor has been on city council for 16 years. And I am confident that her decision to run for re-election is born out of the fact that she needs 4 more so that she will be fully vested in her retirement. That seems to be the popular thing around here. We've got a lot of in some of our biggest positions here, we've got aging employees who are there nothing more than for no other reason than to build up their retirement. And so you've got a city where the administration treats the public coffers as the guarantee of a comfortable old age for its city employees. And that's all well and good, but at the same time, you cannot pay them top dollar in the process. And Savannah right now faces a financial crisis in the short term. I'm not talking about many years out. I'm talking about in the short term. When you look at the number of city employees and what they're paid and what they get upon retirement, then the whole thing is destined to collapse, much like the Social Security system of the United States.
Now, the one other question I have for you is that when you were talking about Edna Jackson, the current mayor, she's currently been the focus of a controversy, shall we say. I want to leave it at that, regarding how she has handled her office in particular. Now, I am going to ask you, and this you might have to consult with somebody else before you can fully answer it, but I am going to ask you, is if in fact you get into office and you're sworn in, you're doing a great job, will you reevaluate what Edna Jackson has done in the past as far as any improprieties while in office and seek your district attorney or whoever you have to further investigate it and possibly, if it would need to be, to bring prosecution against now citizen Edna Jackson?
Mr. Williams, the answer is in 2 parts because it's a 2-part question. First of all, I don't have to check with anybody to tell you what I'm going to do. I know exactly what it is that I want to do as the next mayor of Savannah, Georgia. I don't have to check with anybody. Number 2, sir, the very first thing I am going to do is I'm going to review the long list of construction projects that are in a holding pattern, the cost of which totals, the aggregate total is more than $500 million. And based upon what has happened with the sole example of the Cultural Arts Center, I want to conduct an audit of every single construction project and find out where the money has gone. Because in the case of the Cultural Arts Center, we have found fraud, abuse, waste, and corruption. And this project is 9 years old. They have yet to break ground, and the budget has already spiraled from 13 million to over 21 million. It has been botched at every level, and consequently, at this point, I am convinced that every other construction project on the drawing board has also suffered the same abuse. So the very first thing that I would compel is an audit done of every single outstanding construction project and find out where the money has gone. And in the event that I find other flagrant abuses, I would just as soon shut the project down than go forward. I mean, we have recently seen in Los Angeles a company spend $50 million to build a stadium, and when they realized that they couldn't go forward, that it wasn't feasible, they pulled the plug on it. Now, I'm sure it was for different reasons than what we're facing here in Savannah, but the point that I'm making is that there's a precedence for taking city projects and conducting an audit, and where you find these flagrant violations, you simply shut it down and then begin the process of getting the people's money back by any means necessary.
Now, the other question I have is, we all know the unemployment rate in Savannah is on the climb. We know that. We know crime is on the increase. As mayor, number one, what, granted, you already said you would go into the police department, basically start it over, with the commission to help reduce the crime rate. But the question for people is going to be, what are you going to do as mayor to improve the employment scene for Savannah?
Well, first of all, let me correct you, Bob, and say that the police commission is not empowered to reduce crime among the people. It's empowered to reduce corruption in the police department.
Okay, I stand corrected.
A police department that is run more efficiently. Right now we have 600. We have slots for 600 police officers, and right now we're still about 100 people light. I don't think that you have to worry about putting an army of policemen on the streets of Savannah if you attack crime and the causes of crime at the source, at the root. If you do a better job of attacking crime at the root, then you don't need a police department that's hundreds and hundreds of people in a town that's only 130,000. So the thing is this, Bob. When it comes to reducing crime, you win a city back the same way you lost it. You win it back block by block, street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, and this is how you begin. First of all, you take cops out of the cruisers and you put them on the street corner walking a beat. Because right now the people who are adept at police operations know when they can expect a prowler to drive through their neighborhood, and consequently they can change their mode of operation accordingly. You put a cop standing on the corner, and it will cut down on the street level activity. Now, a cop can't be standing on the corner 24/7. So what you do instead is we move into neighborhoods where there's urban blight, where you've got buildings that are standing desolate and unoccupied. And through a public-private partnership, you buy that property, you renovate it, and then you rent it at a reduced rate to police officers, to firemen, and to soldiers. And now you're putting solid citizens as residents in these neighborhoods. And in this way, you win the city back block by block. You then compel your aldermen to walk the streets of their districts, not just at election time, looking for votes. You put them on the streets, going block by block to find out where the trouble is, and then you knock on trouble's door. And you say to trouble, look, we're here to help you if you can be helped. And if you don't want this help, you got to go. Because we know what you do, and we're not going to allow you to continue to do it. Now, do you want this super fine help of ours? Or do you want to get gone? And that's the way you do it. You've got neighbors looking after neighbors. Bob, let me tell you something about Savannah, Georgia. We've got a crack house in just about every block in certain neighborhoods. And it's also interesting to note that the city of Savannah, Georgia presently has more than 2,000 registered churches doing business in this town. Which means, Bob, that basically you've got on every single block, you've got a house that's got a church in it, and you got a house selling crack. Now, all I can tell you is that doesn't go on in my neighborhood because the neighbors watch out and care for one another. And it's odd to me that the people who run in the church don't say anything to the police about the people who run in a crack house. And that's because they don't feel safe enough to do it. It is true. Throughout America, the African American community is not comfortable calling the police. So consequently, the only way that you can reduce crime in this city is that you move into blighted areas and you win them back by replacing empty houses with solid citizens, and you further support the community by bringing back the old police athletic league. And in the afternoons, cops that are off duty turn into coaches. Because it is my belief, Bob Williams, that a gang of kids is nothing more than a baseball team in search of a diamond. And the kids in one neighborhood, if they want to fight the kids in another neighborhood, let them do it on a basketball court under the supervision of a police coach. And that, friend, is how you win a city back.
But the other question I asked that you did not respond to, we've only got a few minutes left, is how are you as mayor going to bring industry back to Savannah, given the current black eye Savannah has?
Bob, this is for a city its size. Look at what we've got going for it. We've got one of the busiest ports in America that employs thousands of people. We've got one of the largest art colleges in the world. We've got Gulfstream. We've got industry here. The problem that Savannah, Georgia has, if you will, is that we do not have a trained labor force. We have some of the worst public schools in America, turning out some of the worst trained people in America. And the problem is not that there aren't jobs, it's that we don't have qualified people to fill them. We've got to find a better way to educate the people in this town. It's not that the jobs don't exist. There's a ton of jobs out there. But the problem is that if you've got an unskilled, uneducated laborer who's making $1,000 a week selling crack on a street corner and you offer them a minimum wage job, they won't take it. They would rather have the city jail on their resume than the city of Savannah. So the problem that we have here is that our labor force are dropouts, they're unskilled, and these are the people who are demanding jobs because they can't find them.
Okay, there. Murray, I'm going to unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it right there for today. I want to get you back on because, like I said, you have a lot of potential as a mayoral candidate. You're very outspoken about this, and I do want to bring you back in about 2 weeks. If we can make it sooner, let's make it sooner. Are you willing to come back on?
Pal, at your earliest convenience.
All right, Murray. Stay tuned right there with me for a minute, everybody else. It's time for me to get out of here. Stay tuned because coming up right after NPR News, Ed Till will be with you all the way till 4 o'clock. Until tomorrow, 6 a.m., this is Bob Williams. Take care of yourselves.